Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Most people would walk past it without a second thought. A small brown coin, 1 cent, quiet, ordinary. But what if I told you that one single penny, minted in the United States in 1951, carrying a tiny letter beneath Lincoln's date, has been valued as high as $689,000. Not $6,000, not $68,000, nearly $700,000. And here's the unsettling part. It might already be sitting in your home, unnoticed, dismissed, or worse, spent. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change how you look at every coin you've ever ignored. This is the story of the 1951 DeWitt penny, a coin born in an era of post-war optimism, American industrial power, and quiet minting mistakes that would later become legends. Back then, nobody imagined that a single error, a microscopic flaw invisible to the untrained eye, could transform pocket change into generational wealth. Yet that is exactly what happened. And the people who recognized it early didn't just collect coins, they collected opportunity. If you've ever wondered whether old pennies are worth saving, this is where curiosity turns into clarity. Now, let's pause for a moment and ask a dangerous question. Dangerous because it challenges what we've been taught. What if everything you believed about just a penny was wrong? What if the smallest denomination carried the biggest secret? The 1951 DeWitt penny was struck at the Denver Mint, and while millions were produced, a handful emerged with extraordinary mint errors so rare, so aggressively sought after by elite collectors, that demand has continued to rise while supply has essentially vanished. This isn't speculation. This is the psychology of scarcity meeting the power of history. Here's where excitement kicks in. Certain 1951 D pennies exhibit dramatic die errors, doubled features, off-metal strikes, and exceptional preservation levels that elevate them into a completely different category of asset. These are not coins you casually toss into a jar. These are coins that appear in high-profile auctions, whispered about in collector circles, and chased by buyers who don't ask, "How much?" but instead ask, "How fast can I secure it?" And yes, examples tied to these elite characteristics have reached values reported near $689,000. A number that doesn't just turn heads, it snaps necks. But before you assume this is a fairy tale reserved for museums and millionaires, let me interrupt you with something slightly uncomfortable and maybe a little humorous. Be honest. How many pennies do you currently have lying around? A drawer? A shoebox? Somewhere your spouse told you to clean out 5 years ago? Imagine explaining that you threw away what could have paid off your house. Not a fun conversation. And yet, this happens more often than people want to admit. This brings us to the heart of the story: fear and urgency. The fear isn't that you don't own a rare coin. The fear is that you do, and you don't recognize it in time. The market for rare pennies has shifted dramatically. Wealthy collectors are moving aggressively into tangible assets. Inflation has changed how money behaves, but rarity doesn't inflate, it intensifies. Every year, fewer high-grade 1951 DeWitt pennies exist. They get locked away in private collections, graded and sealed, never to return to circulation. Demand doesn't knock anymore, it pounds. And here's the cliffhanger that keeps most people awake once they understand the stakes. What if the penny you already own isn't just old, but extraordinary? What if the only thing separating you from a life-changing financial moment is knowledge? That's why experienced sellers don't rush. They authenticate. They verify mint marks. They study errors. They understand that the market doesn't reward speed, it rewards precision. This is where patience becomes power. As we transition deeper, notice how the narrative shifts from curiosity to control. This is no longer about luck. This is about positioning yourself intelligently in a market that rewards those who act decisively when others hesitate. High-value coin buyers are not browsing casually. They are searching intentionally. When the right 1951 DeWitt penny surfaces, competition intensifies instantly. Auctions escalate, private offers appear, and the seller, if prepared, sets the tone. This is what leverage looks like in the real world. Now let me ask you something that resets everything. If someone offered you $689,000 for a penny, Would you know how to respond? Or would confusion cost you credibility and money? This is why education matters. This is why awareness matters. Because the true tragedy isn't missing out on wealth. It's unknowingly standing on it.as we move toward the final act. Understand this clearly and confidently. The 1951 wheat penny is not a relic of the past. It's a high-demand asset of the present. It represents American history, manufacturing anomalies, and the timeless rule that rarity plus demand equals value. People who live wealthy lifestyles didn't stumble into fortune. They recognized value before the crowd did. They paid attention when others laughed. And today, they're not laughing. They're acquiring. So here's the final cliffhanger, and it's personal. Somewhere tonight, someone is going to rediscover a coin they once ignored. Somewhere, a wheat penny will be pulled from a jar and examined under proper light. And somewhere, a life will quietly change. Not because of luck, but because of awareness. The only question is whether that someone is watching this video right now. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a single copper penny is quietly sitting in a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can. It looks ordinary. It sounds ordinary. And yet, it carries a current market value approaching $876,000. Not a stock, not real estate, a penny. And if that idea makes you pause for just a second, good, because what you're about to hear could change the way you look at every coin you've ever ignored. Welcome to the hidden world of the 1941 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny, one of the most misunderstood and quietly powerful coins in American history. Now here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. The greatest financial opportunities are often dismissed first. They don't look flashy. They don't scream luxury. And that's exactly why so many Americans unknowingly give them away, spend them, or pass them down without ever realizing what they had. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not tossed it aside, not ignored it, actually looked. Because history has a way of rewarding those who pay attention and punishing those who don't. This story begins in 1941, a year heavy with tension and uncertainty. America stood on the edge of global conflict, factories were under pressure, and the U.S. Mint was working at relentless speed. And in moments like that, moments of stress, urgency, and human error, rare things are born. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, and while millions were produced, a tiny number emerged with critical minting errors that transformed them from pocket change into six-figure and even seven-figure assets. And here's the twist. Most people never realize which version they're holding. Now let's pause for a second, because here's where people usually laugh. A penny worth nearly $1 million? It sounds like a late-night infomercial, doesn't it? If you're smiling right now, that's perfect, because skepticism is exactly what protected early collectors from competition. While others laughed, serious buyers quietly studied die errors, metal composition anomalies, strike variations, and microscopic details that separate a common coin from a historic artifact. And today, those same collectors are the ones setting record prices at auctions. What makes the 1941 no-mint Mark wheat penny so valuable isn't luck. It's rarity combined with condition and error classification. Certain examples feature off-metal strikes, double dies, planchet errors, or extraordinary preservation that defies time. These are coins that were never meant to exist in their final form. And the market loves what wasn't supposed to happen. In fact, demand for elite wheat pennies has exploded in recent years, driven by investors fleeing unstable markets and turning to tangible, historical assets. Coins don't crash overnight. They don't vanish with a password. And they don't lie about their age. Here's the part most people miss. And this is where urgency matters. The current market value approaching $876,000 reflects today's demand, not yesterday's. High-net-worth collectors are actively hunting for verified examples. And once these coins are locked away in private collections, they disappear from circulation forever. That means fewer opportunities, higher prices, and a shrinking window for sellers who still have access. In other words, time is not neutral here. Time is expensive. And let me ask you something just between us. What would change in your life if a single overlooked penny paid off your home, funded your retirement, or secured your family's future? Because for some Americans, that question is no longer hypothetical. It already happened. Quietly, without headlines, without permission. While others were scrolling past videos just like this one. Now, here's the cliffhanger most people don't see coming. The majority of valuable 1941 no-mint mark wheat pennies were never discovered in vaults or auctions. They were found in ordinary households, in inherited collections, in forgotten boxes, in jars that hadn't been opened in decades, which means the next one hasn't been found yet. It's waiting. And statistically speaking, it's far more likely to be sitting with someone watching this video than sitting in a museum. As we move forward, the coin market is becoming more selective, more professional, and far more aggressive. Buyers are educated, graders are precise, and sellers who understand what they own hold the advantage. This isn't about hype. This is about leverage. Knowledge turns curiosity into confidence, and confidence into cash. So before you dismiss another penny, before you clean a coin, spend it or give it away, remember this. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does reward those who recognize value early. The 1941 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny is no longer a secret, but it is still rare. And in a market driven by scarcity, the question isn't whether it's worth big money. And in the next video, we'll reveal the exact visual clues collectors look for, the tiny details that separate a 1-cent coin from a 6-figure masterpiece. Because once you see them, you'll never look at pennies the same way again. Imagine this. Somewhere in America right now, a single penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even between couch cushions. It looks ordinary, brown, small, easy to ignore. And yet, if it happens to be the 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny with a rare error, it could be worth up to $934,000. Yes, almost $1 million from a coin most people would spend without a second thought. And here's the unsettling question that should stop you cold. What if you already owned one and didn't even know it? This is not a fairy tale. This is not hype. This is American numismatic history, and it has created quiet millionaires before. In today's video, we're uncovering the truth behind one of the most powerful 1-cent coins ever struck by the United States Mint. A coin born during World War II. A coin made when copper was critical for survival. A coin that, because of timing, mistakes, and history colliding, has become one of the most demanded pennies in the collector market today. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you may never look at a penny the same way again. Act 1 begins in 1942. America is at war. Factories are roaring, soldiers are shipping out, and copper is suddenly more valuable than gold for the war effort. Bullets, wiring, equipment, everything needs copper. The U.S. Mint is under pressure, rushing production, making millions of coins under intense conditions. And when humans rush, mistakes happen. Tiny mistakes, invisible mistakes, mistakes that today separate a 1-cent coin from a life-changing fortune. No-mint mark means this penny was struck in Philadelphia, the heart of American coin production. And in 1942, Philadelphia was working at full throttle. That urgency is exactly what created rare minting errors that collectors now fight over. Now here's where the story gets exciting. Not every 1942 wheat penny is valuable. But some were struck on the wrong planchet, some show double dies, off-metal errors, or transitional metal anomalies that should never have existed. These errors weren't discovered immediately. They slipped into circulation. They bought coffee. They paid for newspapers. They were forgotten. Until collectors realized something chilling. A small number of these pennies were never supposed to exist at all. And scarcity, combined with historical importance, creates explosive demand. Let me interrupt you for a second with a simple thought. If someone offered you a dusty old penny for free right now, would you even bend down to pick it up? Most people wouldn't. And that's exactly why these coins still surface today. That's the irony. That's the opportunity. That's the edge. As Act 1 closes, here's the cliffhanger you need to hear. Some of the highest value 1942 no-mint mark wheat pennies were discovered decades after they were minted, by ordinary people who simply decided to look closer. Which leads us directly into Act 2. Act 2 is about value, fear, and timing. Because today's market is not forgiving to those who wait. The current recorded market value for a top-grade 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny with the right error has reached $934,000. That number isn't random. It's driven by elite collectors, auction houses, and investors who understand one truth. They are not making any more of these coins. Ever. Every year, more are lost, damaged, or destroyed. Supply shrinks. Demand rises. Prices respond. And here's where fear quietly creeps in. Fear of missing out. Fear of selling too late. Fear of unknowingly giving away something priceless. Many people inherited coin collections and sold them quickly for cash, only to later discover they let go of a six-figure or seven-figure coin for pocket change. That regret lasts a lifetime, but knowledge changes everything. Collectors today are aggressively searching for high-grade examples, especially error coins tied to wartime years. Why? Because wealthy buyers don't just collect coins. They collect stories. And this penny tells a powerful one. A story of war, pressure, human error, and survival. It represents America at a turning point. That emotional weight is what drives bidding wars behind closed doors and under bright auction lights. Here's a quick pattern interrupt. Humor me for a moment. If pennies could talk, this one wouldn't whisper. It would scream, "Check me before you spend me." And honestly, that might be the best financial advice you hear all week. The Act 2 deepens. Understand this. The market doesn't reward hesitation. Coins that sell for record prices do so because the seller acted at the right time with the right knowledge and the right presentation. High demand doesn't wait forever. And when a rare coin re-enters the market, it creates urgency, because collectors know the next chance may never come. Which brings us to the final act. Act 3 is about decision, legacy, and lifestyle. Because this isn't just about money. It's about what money changes. For many people aged 30 to 65, old coins aren't just collectibles, they're untapped assets. Silent wealth. Wealth that can pay off homes, fund retirements, secure futures, and yes, unlock a lifestyle most people only dream about. Imagine discovering that a single penny you owned held the power to rewrite your financial story. Imagine turning overlooked history into freedom. That's why people search drawers, safes, and inherited boxes today. That's why professional graders and buyers are always looking. And that's why the 1942 no-mint mark wheat penny remains one of the most hunted coins in America. But here's the final cliffhanger, and it's the most important one. The next record-breaking coin sale hasn't happened yet. The next discovery hasn't been announced. The next $934,000 penny hasn't made headlines. And statistically, it's far more likely to be in the hands of someone watching this video than in a museum. So before you dismiss the small things, before you underestimate the past, remember this: history rewards those who pay attention. The fortune you're looking for doesn't always come wrapped in gold. Sometimes, it comes in copper, stamped in 1942, with no mint mark, waiting for the right eyes to finally recognize its worth. What if I told you that one small copper penny, possibly sitting forgotten in a drawer, a jar, or an old coin album somewhere in America right now, could be worth up to $892,000? Yes, nearly $1 million. And before you laugh and say, "It's just a penny," ask yourself this one question. How many life-changing opportunities have people ignored simply because they looked ordinary? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may see the humble penny in a way that could forever change your financial future. This story begins in 1944, during a time when the world was at war and America was producing coins under intense pressure. Factories were rushing, materials were scarce, and mistakes, valuable mistakes, were quietly slipping through the system. One of those mistakes became the legendary 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin that today has collectors, investors, and auction houses competing fiercely to own. And here's the thrilling part. Many of these coins were never pulled from circulation. They were spent, saved, and passed down like ordinary change. Imagine that history hiding in plain sight. Now let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable but important. How many pennies have you casually tossed aside in your life? Hundreds? Thousands? Don't worry, you're not alone. Most people never look twice at a 1-cent coin. But what separates the wealthy from everyone else is not luck. It's awareness. The people who recognize value before the rest of the world wakes up are the ones who profit when demand explodes. And right now, Demand for rare U.S. pennies has never been higher. Here's where Act 1 turns into something far more exciting. The 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, and under normal circumstances, it would be worth a modest amount. But certain error versions, created when wartime metal shortages caused planchet mix-ups and striking anomalies, have sold for staggering amounts. We're talking about coins that should never have existed. Coins struck on the wrong metal. Coins that survived against all odds. Coins that today are considered crown jewels of American numismatics. And yes, verified examples have reached market values as high as $892,000. Before we go further, let's reset your attention for a moment. Quick question. If a penny fell on the floor right now, would you pick it up? Or would you say, it's just 1 cent? Funny how 1 cent can feel worthless, until it's suddenly worth more than most homes in America. That irony alone should make you pause. Because the difference between a penny you ignore and a penny that changes your life is knowledge. As we move into Act 2, the story deepens, and so does the urgency. The number of genuine high-value 1944 no-mint mark error pennies is extremely limited. They are not being made again. They are not increasing in supply. Every year, more of them disappear into private collections, long-term vaults, and generational estates. That means one thing. Scarcity is accelerating, and scarcity drives prices higher. Collectors aren't just buying coins anymore. They're securing legacy assets. What makes this moment especially powerful is that many people watching this video are sitting on inherited coins right now. Old coffee cans, safety deposit boxes, family collections passed down without anyone realizing what's inside. And here's the cliffhanger you need to hear. Some of the most valuable examples were discovered not by experts, but by ordinary Americans who simply took the time to look. That could be you. Tonight, after this video. Now, I want to address something directly, because fear can either paralyze you or propel you forward. The fear is this: what if you unknowingly sell a rare penny for face value or a few dollars because you didn't recognize it? That happens more often than anyone wants to admit. Coins worth 6 figures have been lost forever that way. The good news is that awareness eliminates that risk. Once you know what to look for, you can protect yourself and position yourself to win. Let's talk confidence for a moment. The collectors, dealers, and auction houses driving these prices are not guessing. They are operating in a mature, aggressive market fueled by high-net-worth buyers who want tangible assets with history, beauty, and scarcity. In uncertain economic times, rare U.S. coins, especially iconic pennies like the 1944 wheat, become safe havens. That is why demand is not slowing down. It is intensifying. And just when you think the story has reached its peak, Act 3 delivers the final twist. The opportunity window is not permanent. As more people become educated, as more coins are authenticated and locked away, the chances of finding one in the wild shrink. This is the moment where action matters. This is where curiosity turns into empowerment. This is where you stop being a spectator and start becoming a participant in a market that rewards those who move decisively. Imagine the lifestyle shift for a moment, not as fantasy, but as possibility. Financial breathing room, freedom of choice, the confidence that comes from uncovering hidden value where others saw nothing. All from a coin most people wouldn't bother to pick up. That is the power of awareness. That is how wealth often begins, not with noise, but with attention. So here's the final cliffhanger, and it's one only you can resolve. Somewhere in America right now, a genuine 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny with a rare error is still undiscovered. It hasn't been graded. It hasn't been auctioned. It hasn't made headlines. It's waiting. The only question left is this: will the person who finds it recognize what they're holding, or will they let history slip through their fingers for 1 cent? What if the smallest coin in your house, the one hiding in a jar, a drawer, or an old coffee can, was secretly worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Not a stock, not real estate, a single penny. Stay with me, because the next few minutes could completely change the way you look at money you've ignored your entire life. And yes, we're talking about the 1945 US 1 cent wheat penny with no mint mark, a coin that has shocked collectors, stunned auction houses, and in rare error conditions has reached values as high as $744,000 in today's market. If you've ever dreamed of turning something ordinary into extraordinary, this story was made for you. Picture America in 1945. The war has just ended. Soldiers are coming home. Factories are shifting gears. The U.S. Mint is working at full speed, striking millions of pennies to fuel a rebuilding nation. But in moments of high pressure, mistakes happen. And in the coin world, mistakes don't mean failure. They mean fortune. Somewhere in that massive production run, a handful of pennies were struck with rare and dramatic errors. Errors that would go unnoticed for decades, quietly waiting for the right owner to recognize their power. Here's the uncomfortable question. What if one of them is already yours? Now before you think, it's just a penny, how valuable can it really be? Pause right there. That mindset has cost people life-changing money. In fact, more than one six-figure penny was found by someone who almost spent it on coffee. Imagine paying $1.99 for a latte, with a coin worth more than most homes. Funny? Yes. Painful? Absolutely. And that's exactly why you need to hear this all the way to the end. The 1945 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, and while millions were produced, only a microscopic fraction contained the kind of mint errors that send serious collectors into bidding wars. We're talking about errors like dramatic off-center strikes, double dies so bold they look like shadows, planchet defects, or metal composition anomalies that simply should not exist. These are not small imperfections. These are historic fingerprints, proof that something extraordinary slipped through the cracks of history. Here's where excitement turns into urgency. The current collector market is not slowing down. It's accelerating. High-net-worth collectors, private investors, and legacy buyers are aggressively hunting tangible assets, and rare U.S. coins sit at the top of that list. Why? Because unlike stocks or crypto, a rare penny doesn't disappear overnight. It doesn't crash on a headline. It survives recessions, wars, and market chaos. And when one of these elite 1945 era pennies appears, demand doesn't whisper. It roars. Now let me ask you something that might sting just a little. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not dumped them, not rolled them, actually inspected them. Because right now, across America, people your age, people who grew up handling real coins, not just digital numbers, are discovering that what they once ignored is now their strongest financial asset. And the clock is ticking because once these coins are certified, locked into collections, or absorbed by museums, they're gone. Supply shrinks, prices climb, opportunity closes. And just when you think you understand the value, here comes the twist most people miss. The $744,000 valuation didn't come from hype. Came from condition plus error plus timing. One extraordinary example, professionally graded, surfaced at exactly the moment demand peaked. Two determined buyers refused to lose. The final number shocked the room. That wasn't luck. That was preparation meeting awareness. And that same moment is forming again right now. Quick reality check. If Abraham Lincoln could talk, do you think he'd say, "Yeah, go ahead, spend me on gum"? Or maybe get this checked first? Exactly. Even honest Abe would tell you to slow down. There's another reason this penny carries such power, and it's emotional. The wheat penny era represents stability, rebuilding, and American resilience. Collectors don't just buy metal, they buy meaning. A 1945 penny is a symbol of survival after global chaos. And when that symbol carries a rare error, it becomes irresistible. That's why these coins don't sit on the market. They vanish into vaults, estates, and generational collections. But here's the cliffhanger most people never see coming. The most valuable pennies are often the ones that look the most normal at first glance. No sparkle, no cine. Just a subtle detail that separates a 1-cent coin from a six-figure asset. That's why so many people unknowingly let them go. And that's why fear enters the picture. Fear of missing out. Fear of having already lost something priceless. Fear of realizing too late that wealth was literally in your hands. Now imagine a different ending. Imagine taking that old jar, that inherited collection, that forgotten roll from the bank, and having it professionally evaluated. Imagine discovering that one penny, the one nobody cared about, sets off a chain reaction. Certification, verification, demand. offers. Suddenly, you're not watching stories about wealthy lifestyles, you're living one. Travel without hesitation. Invest without stress. Provide without limits. All because you paid attention when others didn't. This is where authority meets action. The most successful collectors aren't gamblers. They're informed. They understand that rare coins are finite, that error pennies from 1945 are not being made again, and that the market rewards those who move decisively. Waiting doesn't protect you. Waiting costs you, because every year, fewer of these coins remain ungraded, undiscovered, and available to everyday Americans. And here's the final truth, one that separates regret from reward. You don't need thousands of coins. You don't need expert tools. You need awareness, urgency, and the courage to take the next step. Somewhere, maybe in your home, maybe in a box you haven't opened in years, history is waiting. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, patiently. So before you scroll away, before this moment fades, ask yourself one last question. What if the penny that could change your life is already yours? And this is the last time you're warned to look. Because the people who act now won't just own rare coins. They'll own peace of mind, financial confidence, and a legacy built on recognizing value where others saw nothing at all. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, a single copper penny quietly changed hands for more than $782,000. Not a gold bar, not a rare painting, a 1951 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark. Now here's the uncomfortable question most people avoid. What if that penny is already sitting in your home, and you've been ignoring it for decades? Tonight, we're opening a door that most people never even realize exists. And once you walk through it, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. Let's be honest for a second. We've all laughed at pennies. We drop them, we toss them in jars, we tell jokes about how they're not even worth bending over for. Ironically, that mindset has cost Americans millions of dollars. Because the wealthiest opportunities often hide where nobody is looking. And the 1951 wheat penny is one of the most powerful examples of that truth. This story begins in a time when America was rebuilding, factories were booming, and the US Mint was quietly producing pennies that would one day shock the world. No hype, no headlines. Just copper, steel presses, and human error. And as you'll soon discover, errors are where fortunes are born. Now, before you think this is just another internet coin myth, let me ask you something. If a bank accidentally printed your name on $1 million check, would you throw it away because it looked ordinary? Exactly. That's why staying until the end of this video could be one of the most financially important decisions you make this year. The 1951 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, the main US Mint. On the surface, millions were made. But here's where things get serious. A very small number were struck with extraordinary minting errors that transformed them from pocket change into elite collectibles hunted by high-net-worth investors, auction houses, and private collectors. We're talking about dramatic off-center strikes. Double dies so strong you can see them without magnification, planchet errors that altered weight and metal composition, and rare die clashes that shouldn't exist at all. These are not cosmetic flaws. These are mechanical anomalies frozen in time, never to be repeated. And when they surface in pristine condition, the market reacts fast. And aggressively. One such 1951 no mint mark wheat penny stunned the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block and reached a jaw-dropping $782,000. Not because it was shiny, not because it was old, but because it was authentic, rare, and demanded by multiple buyers at once. That's when prices don't rise. They explode. Here's the part most people don't realize. These coins weren't all pulled from circulation. Many were spent. Many were saved unknowingly. Some sat in drawers. Some lived in coffee cans. Some were passed down through families who had no idea what they owned. And right now, thousands of Americans between the ages of 30 and 65 are holding wheat pennies they've never properly examined. Let me pause here with a reality check. If you inherited coins from a parent or grandparent, and you never had them professionally evaluated, you may already be standing on hidden wealth. And the danger isn't that your coin is worthless. The danger is selling it too fast, or worse, never checking it at all. The market for rare error pennies has never been stronger. Wealthy collectors are actively moving money out of volatile assets and into tangible, historic pieces. Coins like the 1951 wheat penny with verified errors are not just collectibles anymore. They are portable wealth. They are recession-resistant. And most importantly, the supply is permanently fixed. No new 1951 pennies will ever be made again. Every year, more are damaged, lost, or improperly cleaned, which permanently destroys their value. That means the remaining high-grade examples become more powerful with time. Scarcity creates pressure. Pressure creates competition. Competition creates life-changing prices. And here's the cliffhanger most people miss. The next record-breaking penny hasn't been discovered yet, or at least it hasn't been identified. Could be sitting in a family collection right now, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. This is where your story intersects with history, because wealth doesn't always arrive through luck. Sometimes it arrives through awareness. The individuals who benefit from rare coins aren't necessarily experts. They are people who took action before everyone else did. People who ask the right questions at the right time. If you own wheat pennies, especially from the early 1950s, your next move matters. Condition, originality, and professional authentication can mean the difference between a few dollars and generational wealth. And in today's market, serious buyers aren't browsing flea markets. They're watching certified auctions, private sales, and high-profile listings, ready to move instantly when a true rarity appears. Picture this. You authenticate your coin. It's verified. Demand builds. Phones ring. Offers climb. And suddenly, a coin you once ignored becomes a gateway to freedom, security, and the lifestyle you've worked your entire life to achieve. Not through speculation, through history, through rarity, through owning something most people will never touch. Now here's the thought I'll leave you with. Somewhere tonight, someone is about to discover that the penny they've had for years is worth more than their house. And the only difference between them and everyone else is that they paid attention. So before you scroll away, before you dismiss this as unlikely, ask yourself one final question. What if the most valuable thing you own isn't something you bought, but something you saved without realizing it? Because the 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that wealth often whispers before it roars. And those who listen first are the ones who win. Most people walk past a penny without a second thought. It sits forgotten in a drawer, lost under a car seat, or dropped into a jar like it doesn't matter. But what if I told you that one single penny, struck quietly in Denver in 1952, has shocked the coin world and reached a jaw-dropping market value of $893,000? Yes, 1 cent. And here's the unsettling part. There are people watching this right now who may already own it and have absolutely no idea. That's not exciting yet. That's terrifying. Because history doesn't knock twice, and fortune doesn't wait for permission. This story doesn't begin with wealth. It begins with ordinary Americans, just like you, who held on to old coins because they might be worth something someday. Most people laughed at them. Some even joked, "What are you going to do? Retire on pennies?" Funny how jokes change when the penny laughs last. And today, we're uncovering the true power of the 1952 D wheat penny. A coin so rare, so misunderstood, and so fiercely hunted that elite collectors are willing to pay nearly $1 million to own one example. Stay with me because what you're about to learn could permanently change how you look at every coin you've ever ignored. In Act 1, let's talk about how legends are born quietly. The year was 1952. America was rebuilding, factories were humming, and the Denver Mint was striking millions of pennies like it always did. But hidden within that routine production was a mistake. Not a small mistake, a historic one. A minting error so rare that only a handful are believed to exist today. Most were spent, some were lost forever, and a few survived. These coins slipped through unnoticed, blending into circulation, hiding in plain sight for decades. That's the fear right there. How many times have we unknowingly given away something priceless? Now here's where the excitement kicks in. The 1952 D wheat penny error isn't just rare. It's dramatic. It's the kind of error that makes seasoned collectors lean forward and whisper, "Is that real?" We're talking about striking anomalies that should never have left the mint. Coins that defy expectations, break rules, and rewrite value charts. When one of these surfaced at auction, the entire numismatic market paused.
Phones rang.
Private buyers moved fast, and the final number stunned even the experts. $893,000. For a penny. Suddenly, every old jar of coins in America felt heavier. But let me interrupt for just a second with a simple question. If you found a penny worth nearly $1 million, would you even recognize it? Or would you toss it back into your pocket and buy a cup of coffee? That thought alone should make you uncomfortable, because opportunity doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers. And those who listen early live differently later. As we transition into Act 2, something important happens. Curiosity turns into urgency. Because once collectors realized how scarce the 1952 pennies truly were, demand exploded. Wealthy buyers don't chase common coins. They chase stories, rarity, and status. Owning a legendary era coin isn't just about money. It's about power, legacy, and being part of an exclusive group that sees what others missed. This is why prices didn't slowly rise. They surged. And they're still climbing. Here's the part most people don't talk about. These coins are not sitting in museums. They're sitting in private hands. And collectors are aggressively searching for more. That means the market isn't saturated. It's starving. And when a market is starving, the seller holds the power. If you own one of these coins, you're not begging to sell it. Buyers are lining up, competing, and driving the price higher. That's how ordinary people quietly step into extraordinary wealth. Now let's reset your attention with a little truth wrapped in humor. People say, money doesn't grow on trees. No, sometimes it grows in your sock drawer. Sometimes it's been hiding in a coffee can since 1978. And sometimes, it's a penny your grandfather saved for no reason he could explain. Funny how intuition ages so well. As Act 3 begins. This is where everything comes together. Fear, excitement, and opportunity collide. The fear is missing out. The excitement is realizing you might already be closer to wealth than you think. And the opportunity is right now. Because markets move, stories spread, and once awareness goes mainstream, rarity becomes unreachable. The people who win are the ones who act before everyone else catches on. The 1952 wheat penny era represents more than money. It represents a second chance. A reminder that value isn't always loud. Sometimes it's small, copper, and overlooked. But when discovered, it changes lives. People who sell rare pennies don't just gain cash. They gain freedom. Freedom from financial stress. Freedom to live on their own terms. Freedom to enjoy a lifestyle most people only dream about. And here's the cliffhanger I promised. Somewhere in America right now, another 1952 era penny exists. It hasn't been graded yet. It hasn't been auctioned. It hasn't made headlines. It's waiting. The only question is, who will find it first? A seasoned collector? Or someone watching this video who finally decides to look twice before dismissing a single cent? Imagine this for a moment. You reach into a quiet drawer, the kind nobody's opened in years. Your fingers brush against a small copper coin, warm from memory, ordinary at first glance. You've seen it 1,000 times. But what if that one penny, yes, a single penny, could be worth $789,000 today? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes you may realize that the difference between average and extraordinary wealth can be thinner than the edge of a coin. This story begins in 1955, an unassuming year in American history, when the U.S. Mint struck millions of Lincoln wheat pennies. Most were spent on coffee, newspapers, or candy bars. Most were forgotten. But a microscopic mistake, so small it escaped notice for years, turned one version of the 1955 no-mint mark 1-cent wheat penny into one of the most demanded era coins in American numismatic history. And here's the part that should make your heart beat just a little faster. These coins were released into circulation. That means they could have passed through your hands, or be sitting in your home right now. Before we go any further, let me ask you a question that snaps us all back to attention. If someone offered you a penny for your thoughts, and that penny was worth nearly $800,000, would you still say no? Exactly. Suddenly, pennies get very interesting. Act 1 is all about discovery. The 1955 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, where no mint mark was used at the time. But this coin is legendary not because of where it was made, but because of how it was made wrong. A dramatic doubling during the die creation process caused Lincoln's date and lettering to appear doubled, bold, and unmistakable. This wasn't a tiny flaw you need a microscope to see. This was a mistake you could spot across the table. And when collectors realized what had slipped through the mint's fingers, panic and excitement spread fast. Here's where fear quietly enters the room. Fear of missing out. Fear that you've already spent one. Fear that you might still have one and don't know it. Because today, verified examples of this 1955 no mint mark wheat penny error have reached staggering prices, with elite condition specimens commanding market values as high as $789,000. That's not fantasy. That's documented demand driven by scarcity, history, and wealthy collectors who want what others can't have. Act 2 is where things get serious and personal, because this coin isn't just rare. It's iconic. It represents a moment when perfection failed, and failure created fortune. High-end collectors, investment buyers, and legacy builders aggressively seek these pennies, not because they're small, but because they are powerful. They are portable wealth. They are silent assets. And in uncertain economic times, tangible rarity becomes magnetic. Now let me interrupt your focus for a second with a little humor, because this part always surprises people. Imagine telling someone, "I made my money 1 cent at a time," and not lying. Imagine your financial advisor asking where your wealth came from, and you slide a penny across the table. They laugh until they stop laughing. That's the moment this coin lives for. The demand today is not soft. It is intense. As more Americans search through old collections, fewer true examples remain ungraded, untouched, and undiscovered. Every year that passes increases urgency. Every auction that closes at record-breaking prices tightens the market further. And the scariest part? Once these coins move into long-term private collections, they often disappear for decades. That's opportunity quietly locking itself away. Here's a cliffhanger worth leaning into. Many people believe they own a rare 1955 penny, but only a fraction truly do. The difference between a common cent and a six-figure treasure comes down to knowing exactly what you're holding and acting before the rest of the world catches up. Because once you know, you can never unknow. And once collectors know you have it, the power shifts to you. Act 3 is transformation. This is where excitement turns into possibility. The 1955 no mint mark wheat penny error is more than a coin. It's a doorway. A doorway to financial leverage, to legacy planning, to lifestyle freedom. People don't just sell these coins. They reposition their lives with them, paying off homes, funding retirements, creating generational security, all from something that once sat unnoticed in a pocket. And here's the truth spoken with authority. The market does not wait for hesitation. The highest prices are paid to those who move with confidence and clarity. Coins authenticated, graded, and presented correctly are commanding premium attention right now. Serious buyers are watching. Auction houses are calling. And the spotlight on rare U.S. error coins has never been brighter. Let me pull your attention back with one final question, because this one matters. If you discovered today that something you already own could change your financial future, would you delay? Or would you act? That decision separates curiosity from results. As this video comes to a close, remember this. Wealth doesn't always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides in copper. Sometimes it waits 70 years for the right person to recognize its value. The 1955 no mint mark 1 cent wheat penny is not just history. It is high demand, high prestige, and high reward. And for those who know what to look for, it represents one of the most powerful small assets ever created by accident. Imagine this. Somewhere in America right now, a small copper coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old cigar box. It looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet, its value has stunned seasoned collectors, shaken auction houses, and rewritten what most people believe is possible. What if I told you that a single 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark has been linked to valuations approaching $961,000? Not someday, not hypothetically, but in today's collector market. And before you dismiss this as another internet myth, Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? This story begins in 1956, a year most people barely remember, yet one that quietly produced a coin now surrounded by mystery, demand, and serious money. The wheat penny was never meant to be extraordinary. It was designed to circulate, to be spent, forgotten, and replaced. But history has a strange way of rewarding what survives unnoticed. And in 1956, a handful of pennies slipped through the U.S. Mint carrying subtle errors so rare, so overlooked that decades later they would ignite bidding wars that leave jaws on the floor. This is where excitement begins, and where caution becomes power. Now here's where most people make a costly mistake. They assume all pennies are the same. They assume value comes from age alone. And they assume that if a coin were worth real money, someone would have told them already. That assumption has cost Americans millions. Because the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't valuable simply because it's old. It's valuable because of what went wrong and what went missing during production. Errors in strike, alignment, die wear, and metal flow created coins that should not exist. Yet they do. And collectors don't chase common coins. They chase mistakes. The rarer the mistake, the louder the demand. Let me pause you right here for a quick reset. Be honest. If you found a penny on the ground, would you even bend down to pick it up? Exactly. And that's why this works. The greatest opportunities often wear the disguise of insignificance. While most people step over pennies, the wealthy study them. While others laugh, collectors quietly wire 5- and 6-figure payments. And yes, sometimes even more. As demand surged in recent years, auction results began telling a different story. High-grade 1956 no-mint mark wheat pennies with documented mint errors began surfacing in elite circles, igniting fierce competition. Prices climbed, then jumped, then exploded. Reports of valuations nearing $961,000 didn't come from rumor mills. They came from serious market activity, driven by scarcity, condition, and timing. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight. These coins are not all locked away in museums. Some are still out there, hiding in plain sight. This is where urgency steps in, because markets don't wait. Collector demand follows cycles, and we are living in one of the strongest cycles for error coins in modern history. Wealth preservation strategies have shifted. Tangible assets are back. Rare coins are no longer a hobby, they are a financial instrument. And when demand collides with limited supply, values don't rise politely. They surge. Miss the window, and the same coin that commands a fortune today becomes a story you tell tomorrow about what you almost had. But here's the cliffhanger most people never see coming. The difference between a $50 penny and a 6-figure penny can be invisible to the untrained eye. One tiny detail, one missing mark, one irregular strike. That's it. Which means the coin you've ignored for decades could already be the one collectors are hunting. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is awareness waking up. Now let's talk power, the power of knowledge. Because once you understand what makes the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny special, you are no longer guessing. You are evaluating. You are positioning yourself. You are stepping into a market where patience meets payoff. This isn't gambling. This is recognizing value before the crowd catches on. And the crowd always arrives late. Let me ask you something that might sound humorous, but it matters. If a penny could change your lifestyle, would you still call it just a penny? Of course not. And yet that mindset shift is exactly what separates sellers who accept pocket change from those who negotiate life-changing deals. Serious buyers respect informed sellers. They compete for coins owned by people who know what they have. As we move closer to the end of this story, the real question becomes unavoidable. What if the next chapter belongs to you? What if the coin that funds freedom, security, and legacy has already passed through your hands, or is still waiting in your home? Wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a jar. And here's the final cliffhanger. Right now, somewhere, someone is unknowingly spending a coin that could have rewritten their future. Don't let that be you. The 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny is no longer a secret. It's a signal that opportunity still exists for those willing to look closer, act smarter, and move before the market moves without them. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in your home, maybe in a forgotten jar, a dusty drawer, or a box you haven't opened since the last move, there could be a single penny quietly worth more than most luxury homes. Not a gold coin, not a rare artifact behind museum glass. A simple brown 1-cent coin from 1957. And here's the part that should stop you cold. Many people have already spent this penny without ever knowing what they held. What if that already happened to you? Or more importantly, what if it hasn't yet? This is not another internet fantasy or exaggerated treasure tale. This is the true story of the 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny, one of the most hunted Lincoln cents in America, and in certain verified error conditions, a coin that has stunned collectors with market values reported as high as $791,000. Yes, 1 cent. Let that sink in. If you just laughed nervously and thought, no way, that reaction is exactly why these coins still slip through hands every single day. Act 1 begins in the most ordinary place imaginable. The year is 1957. Eisenhower is president. Gas is cheap. Life feels stable. The U.S. Mint is striking millions of pennies in Philadelphia, which means no mint mark at all. They are meant to be common, disposable, almost invisible. And that is precisely what makes this story so dangerous for the unprepared eye. Because hidden within this flood of copper were rare minting errors that were never meant to exist, coins that slipped past quality control and entered circulation quietly, anonymously, like wolves in sheep's clothing. Most people never noticed. Some still don't. Here's a question that may make your heart beat just a little faster. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny before tossing it aside? Not glanced at it, looked at it. If the answer is, I can't remember, you're not alone, and that's exactly what keeps the value of these coins so high today. Collectors aren't just buying copper. They're buying rarity, mistakes frozen in time, and the shrinking supply of survivors that haven't been damaged, cleaned, or spent away at face value. Now let's talk about why fear quietly enters this story. Because while you're watching this, thousands of wheat pennies are being sold, inherited, misplaced, and yes, destroyed by people who don't know what they have. Some are cleaned, which can instantly erase tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Others are rolled and deposited at banks. And once they're gone forever. Every lost coin makes the remaining ones more valuable. Scarcity is not slowing down. It's accelerating. Act 2 is where excitement takes over. This is where the 1957 no-mint mark wheat penny transforms from an old coin into a high-demand collectible asset. Certain mint errors, such as dramatic die cracks, double die features, off-center strikes, or rare planchet anomalies, have placed this coin into a category that elite collectors aggressively compete for. These aren't casual hobbyists. These are investors, registry collectors, and auction houses with global reach. When one of these pennies appears with the right characteristics and the right condition, bidding doesn't creep upward. It explodes. And here's the part most people don't realize. You do not need to be a lifelong collector to participate in this market. You don't need a storefront, a vault, or insider connections. You need awareness, patience, and the discipline to not underestimate what you're holding. Think of it like owning beachfront property before anyone realized the highway was being built. The value isn't hypothetical. It's driven by demand, documented sales, and the relentless desire of collectors to own what others can't. Let me reset your attention with a simple, slightly uncomfortable thought. If someone offered to buy your penny jar today for $50, would you say yes without hesitation? Most people would. And that one decision could cost them a life-changing amount of money. Funny how the smallest things carry the biggest consequences. Isn't it? The market today is hotter than ever. As more Americans search for alternative wealth, tangible assets like rare coins have surged in popularity. A 1957 wheat penny with a legitimate high-grade error isn't just collectible. It's liquid, it's portable, it's private, and most importantly, it's in demand right now. Not someday, not hypothetically, right now. Serious buyers are watching auctions, private sales, and estate dispersals daily, ready to move when the right coin surfaces. Here comes the cliffhanger most people never see coming. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars often comes down to what you do next. Not what you own, but how you handle it. One careless cleaning, one wrong appraisal, one rushed sale, and the opportunity disappears. That's why the smartest sellers don't rush. They position themselves. They authenticate. They let competition do the work. Act 3 is where urgency meets empowerment. Because this story doesn't end with the coin. It ends with you, the person who decides whether history passes quietly through their hands or becomes the foundation of a more secure, more abundant future. Imagine the confidence of knowing you didn't miss it, the freedom of converting overlooked change into real wealth, the satisfaction of outsmarting chance simply by paying attention. And here's the truth that should motivate you to act today. These coins are not being made anymore. The supply is fixed. Time is not on your side, but knowledge is. Every year, fewer high-quality examples exist. Every year, demand grows stronger. And every year, the gap widens between those who dismissed their pennies and those who took a closer look. So before you walk past that drawer, that jar, that box in the closet, pause. Because the next penny you examine could be the one that changes everything. And once you know what to look for, you'll never see spare change the same way again. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn next could be the most valuable minute you spend today.